I've been dating my boyfriend for about 2 years now. We met during my exchange semester in Colombia. I was studying international development, and he was my assigned student buddy. What started as him showing me around campus turned into coffee dates, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. My boyfriend moved to my country 6 months ago for work, but his family is still back in Colombia, including his older sister who lives in one of the poorer neighborhoods of Bogota with her 3-year-old daughter. It's a rough area, about 2 hours away from the city center by bus, but she's always made it work. She's one of those people who never complains, always pushing forward despite the circumstances. Last month, she called my boyfriend in tears. She and her daughter's father had been saving every peso they could get their hands on for the past 2 years. They don't trust banks much where they live. Most people there deal in cash only. Their dream was to buy a small plot of land where they could eventually build a home for their daughter. When I asked him about how much they had managed to save, he told me it was almost 15 million pesos, which he explained was about $3,000. I was shocked when he confirmed that they had given all of it to the agent, but he explained that they truly believed the man was legitimate, especially since he had an office and everything. The real estate agent they found seemed professional at first. He had a small office, showed them various properties, and even drove them around to see different plots of land. They finally settled on one that seemed perfect, just the right size, not too far from where they currently live. But after they handed over the cash, everything changed. The agent stopped answering calls. His office was suddenly closed for renovation. That's when my boyfriend's sister started digging around on Facebook and discovered dozens of fake profiles linked to this guy, all advertising different properties. My boyfriend was furious. I've never seen him so angry. When he declared that he was going to catch this guy, I questioned how he could possibly do that, pointing out that the local police wouldn't do anything about it. He just told me to watch and see. He dusted off an old Facebook profile he hadn't used in years, changed the name, uploaded photos that made him look wealthy, standing in front of fancy houses and cars that weren't his. Got a new phone number too. Then he contacted the scammer about buying property. The guy took the bait immediately. My boyfriend played it perfectly, acted like some rich kid looking to invest in real estate. They arranged to meet outside the agent's office. The scammer insisted on cash only, just like before. I expressed my concerns about the danger of the situation, but my boyfriend assured me that he had already called the police, who would be waiting nearby with his sister. When I worried about the scammer being armed, he explained his clever plan of filling his backpack with branches to make it look heavy instead of bringing actual cash. Yesterday was a big day. When they met up, my boyfriend could see the greed in the scammer's eyes as he kept looking at the backpack. But before anything could happen, the police swooped in. They found everything on him: fake IDs, forged property documents, even the same kind of fake deed he'd given my boyfriend's sister. The scammer tried to bribe the officers right there. Can you imagine? He was literally being arrested for fraud and thought he could buy his way out. The officers just laughed and put him in the car. Now here's where things get even better than what I initially thought would happen. While they were processing him at the station, 3 other families showed up who'd been scammed by him too. Turns out he'd been doing this for months. With multiple victims coming forward and all that evidence on him, the prosecutor is pushing for a serious sentence. The real miracle though, they found a ledger in his office with all his transactions, including the one with my boyfriend's sister. She might actually get her money back. The prosecutor said it could take some time, but with the documented proof, there's a good chance. My boyfriend's sister broke down crying when she heard the news. Not sad tears this time, but happy ones. She hugged my boyfriend for what felt like an hour. Through her tears, she told him she couldn't believe he had done this for them. My boyfriend simply replied that nobody messes with his family. The scammer's facing multiple fraud charges now. Turns out he wasn't just scamming poor families, he was also involved in money laundering. The police had been looking for him for a while. They just needed someone to help them catch him in the act. I'm still in awe of how my boyfriend handled this. He didn't just get revenge, he helped bring down someone who was hurting lots of families. And his sister might actually get to build that house after all. My husband and I were at this big athletic shoe sale. You know, one of those annual events where they slash prices 40% on regular items and clearance stuff goes for half off. For context, my husband really needs these specific shoes. He works a physical job that has him on his feet all day, and he's got some foot problems that only this brand seems to help with. The timing wasn't great though. He'd recently hurt himself at work and had his dominant arm in a sling. Simple things like putting on shoes or even shaving had become a real struggle. He was sporting a scruffy 4-day beard at this point. He's also not your typical big guy. He's 40 but has his baby face, and even though he's covered in tattoos, he's pretty short and wears a size 7 in men's shoes. We made the rookie mistake of sleeping in on a Saturday before making the hour drive to the store. By the time we got there, it was pure chaos. Boxes everywhere, overwhelmed staff running around, and people just leaving shoes all over the floor instead of putting them back. With my husband's injury, I found him a quiet corner to sit in. He hates being babied, but with his arm in a sling and people bumping around everywhere, it was necessary. I went hunting for shoes in his size and style, bringing back several pairs for him to try. I had to help him put them on and tie them, while we chatted about lunch plans and our dog's latest antics. He picked 3 pairs from the clearance section, and I started putting the rest back. That's when I met Karen. She and her friend had been making the mess even worse with their kids running around. She practically threw herself into a seat and demanded my attention. With an exasperated sigh, she demanded 4 pairs of pink sneakers in a specific style from the clearance section, showing me her foot and listing off various women's sizes. I tried to explain that I didn't work there and attempted to point her toward the ladies section, but she wouldn't hear it. She insisted that she'd just watched me help that kid over there and then demanded to know where his mother was. My husband, being naturally shy, just turned red and looked down. I told her that he was my husband, trying to walk around her. She accused me of lying, questioning why I would be putting his shoes on if he was really my husband. I exchanged looks with my husband and decided to ignore her. After 20+ years in retail management dealing with people like her, I'd changed careers precisely to avoid this nonsense. My quiet office job meant I no longer had to humor these types, but ignoring her was apparently the wrong move. When I reached up to put a box away, she grabbed my winter coat hood and yanked me backward. I tripped over a box, spun around, and before I could say anything, she screamed in my face, demanding that I get her shoes immediately. A manager appeared, drawn by her screaming, and politely asked if he could help us with anything. Karen immediately demanded that I be fired, calling me rude, but I quickly cut in to repeat that I didn't work there. I walked back to my husband, who was now standing and clearly angry, and grabbed his chosen shoes. As we tried to leave, Karen stormed over and knocked the boxes out of my hands, right into my husband's injured arm. He cried out in pain, and while I checked on him, the manager stepped between us and Karen, who was still ranting about me being a liar. The police showed up shortly after. Apparently, the manager had called them when things started escalating. Karen's friend and all the kids suddenly pretended not to know her, continuing their shopping as if nothing was happening while she got escorted out. We had to give statements to the police and decided to press charges for assault. The manager rang us up personally afterward and used some special discount card. We got 3 pairs of shoes for just $40. The charges stuck, and Karen ended up with community service and had to pay restitution for my damaged coat. I heard that she's also banned from all of that store's locations in our state. Back in 2003, I landed what I thought was my dream job at this fancy CD store in the mall. The pay wasn't great, but I got sweet discounts on music, and most of my co-workers were awesome people who shared my passion for music. Most of them, except for this one woman I'll call Karen. From day one, she had it out for me. At first, it was little things, taking extra long breaks when I needed coverage, forgetting to do tasks I'd asked her to handle, that sort of thing. But when she got promoted to key holder, things got so much worse. One morning, I was helping a customer find a rare jazz album when Karen walked up. She demanded to know what I was doing, reminding me that she had told me to reorganize the display window. I tried explaining that I would handle the display right after helping the customer, but she wouldn't have it. When I insisted I was almost finished, she pulled rank, stating that as my supervisor, she was ordering me to do the display immediately. She'd do this constantly, undermining me in front of customers, changing my schedule at the last minute, writing me up for minor issues that she'd completely ignore when other employees did the same things. After 3 months of this, I finally went to Human Resources with a formal complaint. I'd already decided to quit. The job I once loved had become unbearable, but I wanted to make sure they knew what kind of person they had in charge. During the investigation, they discovered that Karen and the assistant manager had been dating for months, which was strictly against company policy. They transferred her to another store location, but she quit shortly after. I found a new job at a bookstore chain and actually enjoyed going to work again. That is, until I heard that Karen had just been hired at another location of our bookstore chain in a different mall. The harassment started up again, but this time it was more subtle. Whenever I'd call her store to check book availability for customers, she'd either hang up as soon as she heard my voice or put me on hold for 20 minutes before claiming the call had dropped. My manager became increasingly frustrated with me, demanding to know why I couldn't handle inter-store queries efficiently. When I tried explaining the issues with the other location, he just told me to make it work, saying we couldn't keep having customers walk out because I couldn't get simple information. Then came the sweet opportunity for revenge. I was having lunch with a coworker who told me Karen had been in a car accident and hurt her back. She'd gone on medical leave, claiming she couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes without experiencing severe pain. Her store couldn't hire a replacement while she was on leave, and they were struggling with being short-staffed. About 2 months later, I ran into my old co-worker at the mall. He excitedly told me I should have been at Rack 'em Up the previous night, as Karen and the assistant manager had been there playing pool. When I expressed my surprise, he confirmed that they came every Wednesday night and had been doing so for months. He even mentioned that she was quite good at it. Here she was, supposedly unable to work due to debilitating back pain, but spending hours playing pool every week. I knew exactly what to do. The next morning, I went to her store and asked to speak with her manager. I told him I had information about his employee on medical leave. When he asked what it was about, I explained that she had been playing pool every Wednesday night at Rack 'em Up for the past few months, usually staying for several hours. When he questioned if I was sure about this, I suggested he go see for himself the next night around 8. Sure enough, she was fired the next day. But the story doesn't end there. A week later, I was driving home from work when I noticed a familiar car following me. It was Karen and her friend, trying to be subtle but failing miserably. Instead of going home, I drove straight to the police station, called them from my cell phone, and explained the situation. 2 officers came out to meet me. They confirmed with me that the vehicle I pointed out was indeed the one following me. Then they approached Karen's car, and I could see her face turn white. They spoke with her for about 15 minutes, and I watched as she tried to explain herself, getting more animated by the second. When they returned to me, they explained that they had warned her about stalking charges and asked if I wanted to press charges. I told them I wouldn't if she left me alone for good. Karen never came near me again. Last I heard, she had moved to another state. I guess karma really does come around eventually. I've always been the type of mom who goes above and beyond for my kids, even when it means stepping way outside my comfort zone. My 15-year-old daughter knows I have social anxiety and hate crowds, which is exactly why I was suspicious when she begged me to go to Bath & Body Works' annual Candle Day sale. At breakfast, she pleaded with me about the winter collection, explaining how all her friends were getting them and emphasizing the 70% discount available that day. I reminded her of my feelings about these kinds of sales and suggested ordering online instead. She quickly shot down that idea, telling me they were already sold out online. She tried to reassure me by saying she only needed 2 candles and suggested I go right when the store opened, promising it wouldn't be that bad. Looking back, I should have known something was up when she mentioned right when they open. My daughter, who never wakes up before noon on weekends, was suddenly concerned about early morning shopping. But being the pushover parent I am, I agreed. I arrived at the mall at 9 a.m. and the line literally wrapped around the building. My daughter had definitely played me. This wasn't just a regular sale. This was Black Friday levels of chaos, exactly the kind of situation I actively avoid. I texted her immediately, pointing out the massive line and asking if she knew about this all along. She replied with an apologetic message, but quickly followed it with a plea for me to stay since I was already there, throwing in an "I love you" for good measure. I took a deep breath and got in line, pulling out my trusty corded earbuds. Yes, I'm that mom who hasn't upgraded to wireless yet. Music helps manage my anxiety, and I figured I could just zone out until it was my turn. The crowd was surprisingly civil, mostly moms like me, probably also roped into this by their children. After an hour of waiting, I finally made it inside. The store looked like a tornado had hit it, but I was determined to grab these candles and get out. That's when I felt an aggressive tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see a woman who looked like she'd just stepped out of a country club, fancy purse dangling from her arm, perfectly manicured nails, and a nasty expression all over her face. I pulled out my earbuds and apologized, explaining I had my music playing. She thrust a crumpled coupon practically up my nose and demanded to know if she could use it on the candles. I apologetically told her I wasn't sure and suggested we ask someone. Before I could spot an employee, she let out an exasperated sigh and asked if I worked there, clearly annoyed. I looked down at my outfit. Sure, I was wearing all black, but that's because I'd come straight from the salon where I work. Hairstylists tend to dress in black. It's practical when you're dealing with hair dye and products all day. When I explained that I didn't work there, she demanded to know why I was dressed that way and accused me of being difficult. I tried to explain that I was a hairstylist who had just come to get candles for my daughter. She responded by declaring that she'd wasted her time talking to someone who was useless. At this point, several people had turned to watch the spectacle. A real employee who had been restocking nearby approached and asked if everything was okay. The entitled woman immediately complained that I was pretending not to work there just to avoid helping her. The employee calmly explained that I was on staff and pointed out that there were signs throughout the store explaining which coupons were valid that day. The woman snapped back, demanding to know how she was supposed to know that since I was wearing all black. I pointed out that half the store was wearing black since it was winter. The people around us started chuckling and her face turned as red as the Christmas candles on display. She balled up her coupon, threw it on the ground and stormed toward the exit, but not before knocking over a display of hand soaps. The employee just shook her head and started picking them up. I helped the employee clean up the mess, and she thanked me by letting me use her employee discount on top of the sale price. I bought 4 candles instead of 2. My daughter definitely owed me 1 after putting me through this ordeal. When I got home and handed my daughter the bag, she gushed about how I was the best mom ever and innocently asked if everything went okay. I responded with fake cheerfulness, informing her that next year she would be coming with me to deal with the entitled people herself, since she loved these sales so much. The look of horror on her face was worth every minute of anxiety I'd endured that morning.